The crypto market faces its biggest test of 2022 next week, and there is one chart that is going to dictate the future direction for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market this month. Happy Friday, everyone. Justin here with Crypto Academy, and in today's video, I'm going to show you why next week is potentially the biggest test for crypto so far in 2022. Then we're going to cover the one chart that is non-crypto, but is going to have a major influence on Bitcoin this month. And I'll wrap things up with some key levels to keep an eye on for Bitcoin, including exactly how I'm going to trade Bitcoin as we go into next week's events. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Now, the big test for crypto next week is going to be the inflation data. Now, we not only have CPI or PPI, but we have both back to back next week. So these events are going to be ones to pay attention to, not only for the stock market, but also for the crypto market. So on Wednesday of next week, we have CPI, that's Consumer Price Index, and this shows the change in the prices that consumers are paying for goods and services. And then on Thursday, 24 hours later, we do have PPI, that's Producer Price Index. So PPI shows the change in price of goods and services sold by producers. So CPI and PPI are going to give us an idea of what kind of inflation we're looking at right now in the economy. And obviously, inflation is a big topic right now because it is dictating how quickly the Fed and other central banks are raising rates. And the faster and more aggressively that these central banks are increasing interest rates, the more pressure it's putting on the economy and also financial markets as a whole. So that includes crypto. Obviously, Bitcoin has been following the S&P 500. So financial markets as a whole are going to be watching both of these events next week. So for both CPI and PPI, the higher the numbers come in next week, the more pressure it's going to put on the crypto market. So you're going to want to focus on that forecast number. If the actual numbers come in higher than expected or higher than forecast next week, that is potentially going to put more pressure on the crypto market. And conversely, if those numbers come in lower than forecast, then that could be relatively bullish for the markets. Now, the one thing to keep in mind here is that the numbers by themselves don't mean as much as how the market reacts to it. So you can have numbers come in that are higher than forecast, yet the market reacts in a bullish way, and that's going to signal strength in the markets. So you not only want to watch for what these numbers are next week for CPI and PPI, but also how the markets react. Okay, if we get higher than forecast numbers, yet markets rally, that's going to be a sign of strength. Whereas if we get lower than forecast numbers and the market sells off, then that is a sign of weakness. So that's very important to keep in mind next week, just because, as I always say, it's more about what the market does in reaction to numbers like this than the actual numbers themselves. Next, I'm going to show you the one chart to keep an eye on that is not crypto related, but is going to have huge implications for Bitcoin and the rest of the market. But before I do, if you want to make more money as a trader and investor, be sure to subscribe to this channel and click that bell icon to get notifications so that you don't miss the next video. All right, so let's switch gears now and take a look at the one chart that is going to influence the crypto market. So today we're looking at the VIX, and this is the Volatility Index by CBOE. Now, this is typically a measure of the stock market, specifically the S&P 500, because it is based on S&P 500 options data. So the VIX is often called the fear gauge, and the reason for that is that it is often inversely correlated with the S&P 500. All right, so if I go up here and just do a quick compare here I'm going to pull up the SPX, which is the futures data for the S&P 500, and you can clearly see that it's not an exact one-to-one correlation, but what you'll notice here is that the VIX here in blue, you can see that every time the VIX tops out, the S&P 500 bottoms, and vice versa, when we get a bottom on the VIX, the Volatility Index, we get a peak on the S&P 500. So notice what's happened here over the past few weeks where the VIX has been moving lower and the S&P 500 has been moving higher. So this is going to have major implications for the S&P 500. And don't forget that Bitcoin has been following the S&P 500 and the entire stock market. So what happens here with the VIX next week is definitely going to matter for the crypto market. All right, so looking here at this triangle pattern that we have for the VIX. This is a massive pattern. It may not be obvious right off the bat, but this level goes all the way back here to November of last year. So this is a 9-month triangle pattern. You can see that both of these levels have been exactly spot on. Okay, now at the moment, the VIX is trading just below this support level with about 1 hour to go in the session today. So here's what I'm going to be watching for next week as we head into that inflation data that I talked about. So at the moment, you can see that the VIX is trading below this level. Now, what's going to be key is to get a close below it, Now, today is not only the daily close, but also the weekly close, and the weekly close always trumps the daily. Okay, so going into today's close in 1 hour, if the VIX does close below the support level, then we could be looking at a larger breakdown next week, which would be bullish for the stock market and also crypto. However, the one warning I'm going to give here is that we have that CPI and PPI next week. So a lot can change within a few days. So keep that in mind. Wednesday and Thursday, 8:30 a.m. Eastern, we have those events. So this could change in a hurry. However, right now the market is trading below that level. So as long as it holds below this, then we could see a more significant rally from the stock market and also the crypto market as well. Now, as for key levels here for the VIX, if we do see a breakdown, it becomes quite clear where this market could find support. And remember, this moves inversely to the S&P 500 and also the crypto market in a manner of speaking. Okay, so the key level down here, right around 18 to 19, is going to be the next one for the VIX here. And that would represent a pretty significant drop from the VIX. But usually with a pattern like this, if we were to get a breakdown and this level holds going into next week, this area down here, all the way down here about 15, is going to be a target for the VIX. Now, a move from about 21 all the way down here to about 15 would represent a significant move, and this would be a significant breakdown from the VIX, which again could result in a much larger rally for the crypto market. But one thing to keep an eye on next week, as I said, is with those CPI and PPI events, we have to make sure that this area is going to hold as resistance, because this could very easily turn into a fake out where we get the close below and maybe this market trends lower for, Monday and Tuesday. And then we get those inflation numbers and the stock market sells off and the VIX skyrockets higher, closes back above this. And then this down here becomes a fake out. And like I say, a fake out to one side of a pattern usually triggers an extended move in the opposite direction. So this is something we're going to have to watch very closely as we go into Wednesday and Thursday of next week. Now, before I get to the Bitcoin chart and show you exactly how I'm trading it next week, do me a favor and smash the like button if you're enjoying this video. And don't forget to comment with your thoughts below. I always try to answer any questions that I get or even just general comments about the video. All right, so let's go ahead and get to that Bitcoin chart now. And the one thing I'm watching here is going to be 23,000. So this is something I've talked about for the past few days, where 23 is going to be a big hurdle here for bulls. They need to get back above this level, which Bitcoin lost here recently. So for the last 2 days, the market has been trading below this level. 23,000, you can see it was lost here 2 days ago. Okay, and so far the market is unable to get above this level. Now, what's going to be key is to see a daily close above that. All right, so whether it's today, tomorrow, the next day, whenever, we do need to see a daily close at 8 p.m. Eastern in order to flip 23,000 back to support. If we do see that, 23,450 is going to be next. This is another level I've talked about several times in recent videos, and you can see where the market is so far struggling to get above that today. In fact, today's high so far is 23,476. That's no coincidence. Again, 23,450 is the resistance level to watch. Now, if next week's inflation data comes out lower than forecast, or it's expected or higher than forecast, yet the market rallies, what I'm going to be looking for from Bitcoin and the way I'm going to be trading this is if we get a daily close above 23, then I'll look to bid that as new support. Same thing with 23,450. So very simple. If the market can close above 23, 23 becomes support. If we get a close above 23,450, that level becomes support. Now, key resistance above that's going to be right around 24,200. That's obviously a major hurdle here for Bitcoin, and one to watch if we do get that break higher. And if the market can really start to rally next month into the rest of August, one level to keep an eye on here is going to be mid 25s. I've talked about this before, but mid 25,000 is going to be an area to watch. Now, the more bearish side for Bitcoin, I think, is a little bit harder to play as we head into next week. And that's simply because the market is trading above this significant area back here, right around 21,600. So you can see we had the fake out back here and the rally. Now, so far, Bitcoin is carving these higher lows. So you have to be really careful here, especially trying to look for shorts while the market is carving these higher lows. So if anything, I'm going to be looking for long opportunities on a reclaim above 23,000 and potentially above 23,450. Now, the one thing I'm going to say about that though is be very careful as we head into next week, because those events on Wednesday and Thursday are sure to trigger a lot of volatility for the stock market and the crypto market as well. So if you're in a position here, expect a lot of volatility back and forth. And lastly, just remember too, what matters is how the market reacts, not so much the data itself. Inflation could come out higher than a forecast, yet if the market rallies, that's a sign of strength, and vice versa. If numbers come out lower than forecast and the market sells off, that's a sign of weakness. But I do think for the most part, it's going to be pretty much an over-under scenario where if inflation is higher than forecast, it's going to be bearish. If it's lower than forecast, it's going to be bullish. So that's it for today's video. Once again, happy Friday. And if you enjoyed today's video, you're going to love the one I made yesterday on Bitcoin and also the total crypto market cap. So be sure to check that out right here. And don't forget to subscribe and click that bell icon for notifications to learn how to make more money trading and investing. Hope you all have a great weekend. I will talk to you again on Monday.